The next morning I went to the local militia precinct. The building was an ugly gray concrete block with a red Soviet flag freezing on the roof. Inside it smelled of cheap tobacco, wet wool, and stale sweat. I stood at the iron bars of the front desk for 20 minutes before a fat desk sergeant even looked at me. His uniform was stained and his eyes were bloodshot. I told him my name. I told him I was looking for my wife, Maria Voronova. The moment I said her name, the sergeant's hand froze over his tea. He didn't look me in the eyes anymore. He stood up without a word, walked into a back room, and closed the door. I waited. 10 minutes later, he came back with a thin, yellowed file. He flipped through the papers with dirty fingers, clearing his throat. "Typhus," he said, his voice flat, like he was reading a grocery list. Winter of 1974. There was an outbreak in the Northern District. She died in the municipal hospital, buried in a mass grave at the edge of the city cemetery. No ceremony. Next question. I stared at him through the bars. I had seen hundreds of men die of typhus in the camps. I knew what the paperwork looked like, and I knew how men talked when they were telling the truth. This man was reciting a script. His boots were tapping nervously against the floor, and he kept glancing at a closed door down the hallway, the door to the chief's office. "Where is the hospital report?" I asked, my voice dropping to a low, gravelly whisper that made him flinch. "Where is the doctor's signature?" "The file is closed, Zek," the sergeant snapped, trying to sound tough, but his hand was shaking as he shut the folder. "You just got out of the camps. If I were you, I'd take my papers, find a job at the factory, and keep my mouth shut. The world has changed while you were away. Don't dig into things that don't concern you anymore." I didn't argue. I didn't yell. In the gulag, if you show your teeth too early, they knock them out. I turned around and walked out into the freezing air. But I knew with every fiber of my being that they were covering up a corpse. I spent the next 3 days in the darkest corners of the town. I didn't go to the authorities. I went to the people who actually knew the truth because they lived in the dirt. I visited the cheap beer halls, the train station waiting rooms, and the black markets where people traded bread for stolen coats. I bought cheap bootleg vodka for the old railway workers, the beggars, and the old women who sat on the benches near Maria's street. It cost me my last few rubles, but vodka opens doors that the law keeps locked. On the third night, in the back of a filthy basement tavern, an old man named Uncle Misha, a man who worked the graveyard shift at the railway station for 30 years, finally cracked. He took a long drag from his unfiltered cigarette, looked around the dark room to make sure nobody was listening, and leaned in close. His breath smelled of sour alcohol and decay. "They lied to you, Kolya," he whispered, his eyes wide with an old, deep-seated terror. "Everyone knows what happened, but everyone is too afraid to die. Maria didn't die of any sickness. They hunted her down like an animal." If you liked my story and want to know what will happen next, make sure to subscribe and like this video right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes out of the dark next, and I will tell you the rest of the secrets very soon. Or, I will just leave right now and walk away into this cold winter fog if you don't care about what happens next. The choice is yours. But if you are too impatient to wait for the next episode, the full uncut story is already waiting for you. Just type the red Vigilante in the YouTube search bar, find my main channel, and watch the whole video right now. Go check it out, stay safe, and I'll see you there.